Hi, I'm Skyler. Welcome to AgamidCG, and today is day 21 of my 30-day sculpting challenge. The prompt for today is a foot study. Before I jump into this challenge, I just wanted to mention that I'm working on a much bigger project in the background. I'm designing, modeling, and building a full cosplay for Fan Expo 2026, and I'm going as Steiner from Final Fantasy IX. So alongside this challenge, I'm also doing hard surface modeling and problem solving to figure out how to take something from a digital sculpt into a physical cosplay. So check that out if it's something you're interested in. All right, back to the foot. I've already sculpted hands in this challenge, so I figured it's time to move on to their ground-dwelling companion, feet. This time, instead of starting from a sphere like I did with hands, I built the structure from a cube. I pulled out a heel and the metatarsal area and started shaping the tip of the foot, and then I pulled out a rough leg, mostly just for proportion and reference. At less than 10 minutes in, I was actually feeling pretty good. The main shapes were there, the big sections of the foot made sense, and I thought, okay, now it's just time for the details and the toes, right? Not really. When I looked at the back of the foot, I realized how I completely ignored how it needs to be concaved. The fleshy muscle areas that run down the side and create this sort of triangular shape towards the heel, and every time I adjusted one angle, I'd mess up another, which sent me into a constant loop where nothing ever felt quite right. So I tried changing my focus and I moved on to the toes. My plan was to sculpt one toe, duplicate it for all 5, and just slightly scale and adjust them. In theory, that sounds efficient. In practice, it really didn't help that much. I placed the toes and, well, time was up. I took about 10 minutes to get the base structure and then about 50 minutes just to place the toes and fight the overall shape. Part of this is on me because I chose a tiptoe pose instead of just a standard flat foot, and I chose to do a female foot instead of a masculine foot where the muscles would probably be more prominent and it's easier to find bony landmarks, especially if I did someone who was more muscular. After the hour, I did continue working on this a bit. I still had a little bit of energy left and I was frustrated with how it looked. It still looked very off and I didn't even get to merge the toes yet. One useful thing I did learn though is how to use a reference image. In Lightbox, you can find it in the texture panel, and that helped me match the foot more directly to my reference. Honestly, in some ways it actually made me more confused, but at least I had a clear guide to tell me when I was really off. The nice thing about this setup is you can actually save and store that view. So if you mess it up or you move your sculpt around, you can easily just get back to where you were in the view you were in with just a click of a button. And if you want to see more about that process, I would gladly make a video on it, so just let me know in the comments. Next, I tried merging the toes to start bringing everything together. And this is where I'm pretty unsure of what to do next. Should I keep the toes separate in their own polygroups or merge them all together? Should I continue with Dynameshing and Dynameshing, or should I be using Sculptris Pro, or should I be subdividing? Is that something that's just user preference, or is there a straightforward or specific way or workflow to do that? There's still a lot for me to learn here. I spent some time refining the shape, smoothing things out, and individually adjusting the toes. I added some poly paint for skin tones, extracted the nails, and added a few subtle skin folds. Eventually, I had to call it. I think I got somewhere though, definitely further than I did in the first hour. I think the big takeaway for me here is that I definitely need to focus on my anatomy and primitives before I even get into surface details. I'm sure to a trained eye, there's a lot of things that are missing or wrong. I do find fleshy anatomy to be a lot harder to sculpt, especially when you don't have any specific bony landmarks. I know there are bony landmarks in the foot, but I find the areas like the heel and the ball of the foot and parts around the toes and those little skin fold areas when things wrinkle, it's tough to find out where things are and where muscular or fatty areas transition. So that's day 21, another anatomy sculpt down. If you have ideas for what I should sculpt next, or topics you'd like to see in another video, or feedback on this one, you can throw that in the comments. And if you like what I'm doing here and you enjoy my content, consider liking and or subscribing. I'm a really small channel right now, so your help really does make a difference. I'll see you in day 22.